Hey, welcome everyone to a very special episode of the Rock Fantasy Files as we continue our series of albums celebrating milestone anniversaries. Tonight we are talking Rush, the Canadian rock trio, with a trio of albums in our first ever triple album battle, with their 1982 album Signals being represented, 2002's Vapor Trails, 2012's Clockwork Angels. I've asked our panel to pick 2 or 3 songs if they like from each album, give the album a rating between like 1 and 100. We're also here to talk pinball machines tonight. Of course, my store is full of pinball, and I've loved pinball for years. I have 2 of my good friends here from Stern Pinball who were gracious enough to give their time to the channel and chat about the amazing new Rush pinball machine that was recently released by Stern Pinball. We have Mr. John Borg, head designer. We have Mr. Tim Sexton, head programmer. I hope I have that not mixed up, but I'm sure I don't. I hope I don't, anyhow. And John's been designing pinball games since the early 90s and is no stranger to rock and roll themed pinball machines, as he's done the Daddy East Guns N' Roses back in the 90s, along with Stern's Metallica game, the Kiss game, Aerosmith games, among his rock and roll titles, of course. Tim Sexton has joined Stern a couple of years ago. He's a regular in my shop for years, and he has worked on the Led Zeppelin pinball in 2020 and the Black Knight Swords of Rage, which I consider a music pin due to Anthrax, Scott Ian, and Deathclock's Brendan Small doing the music. And he also did some work on the Iron Maiden pinball machine. So we've got Tim's got 3 rock and roll games under his belt already. So it's, I guess, hanging out at Rock Fantasy groomed him a little bit for the rock and roll themes. And he was a fixture at Rock Fantasy, of course, helping and playing pinball tourneys. We still hold on every second and fourth Thursday in the shop. We've got Limelight, the band, represented tonight. We've got Lou Caldarella, the drummer. We have Eric Strum, the guitarist, and they're going to be playing at the Pintastic Game Room and Pinball Convention in June. So we thought we'd invite them. Also, Spaghetti Lee is here, a regular on the channel, and Pete Pardo's here, Tranquility. We got TSO and Sabotage and his brand new record, Spirits of Fire. And we got Chris Caffrey here tonight. And we got Cliff Albert of Warlock Pinball streaming, and of course, rock and roll drummer and one of my good friends in the pinball and rock and roll community. So let's kick this thing off. First, we'll talk about these 3 Rush albums. First, 1982's Signals, the 9th studio album that peaked at number 10 on the Billboard 200, was a follow-up to Moving Pictures. It was the last album produced by their longtime associate, Terry Brown. Vapor Trails is their 17th studio album. The album peaked at number 6 on the Billboard Top 200. It was first album since 1996 Test for Echo, and the longest gap between Rush albums. Drummer Neil Peart suffered the loss of his daughter and his wife in separate tragedies. As a result, the group entered that long hiatus, and we weren't sure if they were coming back, but they did. And Clockwork Angels is one of their latter albums, their 19th studio album, and peaked at number 2 on the Billboard 200, and is the band's only true concept album, a dystopian steampunk-inspired world lit only by fire. So let's talk about, I'm going to go around and I'll have each one of you guys just give us your songs and give us a rating for the albums, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the pinball. How's that sound?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right, so
the Monster song right now took over.
I hear the monsters in the background. Now you're going to get me for, you might get me for licensing on. They might demonetize me because that's playing in the background. So maybe you want to shut that one off for tonight.
I could just turn the volume down.
Yeah, turn the volume down. Just, you never know. I'm going to kick this thing off with a guy that's been on the channel quite a bit, Lou Caldarella from Limelight. And of course, we'll wrap back a little bit and we'll talk about you guys playing at Pintastic. But let's talk the music first and let's get rocking.
Sounds great. So just the Signals picks for now, yeah, and we'll come back around.
You could do all 3.
Okay,
just do all 3 albums, and it'll make it simpler. And then we'll come back and then we'll have some questions for John and Tim and talk some pinball.
All right, that sounds good. So yeah, thanks guys for having me on. Really looking forward to the Pintastic event. But jumping right on in with starting with Signals. This is interesting picks that you have here. I would have to say that though I love Signals and I love any Rush album, I'm one of those folks that's like, well, Signals is where things started to change for me. So starting with the Signals though, the songs that really, I'll go with the 2 that jump out to me. As a drummer, Digital Man would have to be my number one go-to there. Neil's mix of that rock and ska, reggae kind of stuff that he was really into through those years really came through and came together great. So Digital Man would have to be my first pick off of Signals. And my second one, I think I'm going to go Countdown. I like the concept behind it. And even though it's only in there briefly, Geddy's bass sound on that was one of my favorites. Like, I think he really hit one of his best bass sounds, and it really shows during those parts in Countdown. Signals, though, overall, still a great album. It was the start of the big change for me in what they were doing and where they were going. But I still really hold Signals pretty high. I would probably give that a 8. Maybe 8.5 star, out of 10 kind of rating. Only, I'd probably go 9, but I like many folks prefer when the guitars are more up front as opposed to the keyboards.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my Signals wrap up. I'll jump up to Vapor Trails. So Vapor Trails, I was happy enough to see the first show back. They opened that tour in Hartford. And One Little Victory, that'd be my, that opening where they're back, and Neil's assault that just kind of jumps right out at you. That was just like, all right, sweet, double bass, some rock and drums. This is the Rush that I miss. This is what I want. So I would have to say that One Little Victory would be my real grabber off of that one. And then next, I think Out of the Cradle. Big fan of the tune Out of the Cradle. On that one, that's got some great stuff to it. I love the energy and the feel and the way that song moves along. There's definitely a couple songs on Vapor Trails that I might hit the skip button just occasionally, not all the time.
Okay.
But so I don't know if that one would, I don't know if that would score as high of an overall rating. I'll probably give Vapor Trails a 7. I still love the material. I love the return. I mean, Neil's playing was fire. It was nice to see him back after everything he had been through, and to see him still play with that ferocity was awesome. But again, we're into that era of Rush where the keyboards were a little more predominant, not my first choice of my favorite stuff. So, I'll go with that one, with that as my summary for Vapor Trails. Clockwork, I liked the revisiting of the concept idea. It had some really great stuff on there. This one was tough. I had to go through and really kind of, I might even change, after we're done, I'd probably go, oh man, I should have said these two. But my first go-to would be Headlong Flight. I really, again, the drummer standpoint, I thought Neil's little solo breaks and stuff in that, and Rush being Rush with the arrangement of Headlong, I really enjoyed that. And then second, I'm gonna have like a tie, but slightly beating out. I'll say Caravan next, with Clockwork Angels title track as almost a tie. Caravan's a little more rockin', has a little more of that guitar older feel to me, so I guess that's why it beats it out a little. But something in Clockwork, the choruses are awesome. I love the melody and the stuff that goes on in that one. So that's honorable mention, I guess, almost tied. Okay. And I guess I'd give Clockwork an 8 overall. I don't love when Rush is a little on the mellower side, and there are a couple songs on that to me would fall into that category. So I'll give it an 8. But yeah, that would be my wrap up on those.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm going to hop over to Mr. Tim Sexton next, putting him on second, batting second here. And welcome, Tim. It's good to have you on the channel again. And good to see you, man.
Thanks, Steve. I hope I can get back to your shop at some point pretty soon. Got to make a trip out to New York.
Hey, the
Rush
Pinball launch party is this Saturday.
I know. I don't think I can make it this Saturday.
Okay.
I'm trying to get to the city and stay with my grandfather. When he's can go out, it's a little bit warmer. He can't do the cold so much, but
okay.
When I can get out there for him, I'll make a trip up to Middletown.
Of course, that'd be awesome.
So yeah, my homework assignment So it was funny with working on this game. I don't want to go talk about the game too much, but I actually focused a lot more on just the live concerts. So a lot of my thinking is based on the live music, and in that sense, the Headlong Flight, start with Clockwork Angels, the dramatical solo in there that they do in the live concerts is always awesome. So that's probably my favorite track on Clockwork Angels for that reason, because mostly with working on the game, just trying to get the best shots we could for the video we had in the display. I think Signals, I think a lot of that synth stuff is great. It's kind of like what I think of with Rush in general. I love Subdivisions, of course. I've listened to that a million times, but I also really love the intro of New World Man. I think that's always feels very, like the 80s, or the what they thought was like futuristic in a time that's now kind of sounds like it's from the past. It's a very cool style, I guess, to it. And on Vapor Trails, we have One Little Victory in the game, and I think that's a great track. Just in general, it's a lot of fun. It's a really good opener for that album. So I didn't have 2 or 3 for each one. Sorry, I just did a couple, just some highlights.
That sounds good. And of course, we're going to come back and ask you a million questions about the pinball when we're done with this album part. How's that? Oh, a couple
that
questions.
Sounds great.
Maybe not a million, because that would take a long time.
I just want to know tricks so I can possibly beat people.
So next we're going to keep it with Stern Pinball. We're going to go to the Borg. Welcome, John.
So guys, welcome. Thanks for having me. I didn't know I had an assignment, but I'm going to talk about Rush and when met Rush and how I got into Rush. And I kind of started off, hearing some of the earlier Rush songs. And then when 2112 came, then I was a full blown fan. They got up into the top 3 favorite bands of all time, just in a very short time. Very futuristic, really totally unbelievably awesome sound and great writing. My favorite song on 2112, and I'm a deep cut guy too. I'm a total B-side guy. Witch Hunt. I love Witch Hunt.
Excellent.
YYZ is awesome. Tom Sawyer is a great song. Will be, till the end of time. Then I started to kind of go back, and I loved a few songs. It wasn't one of their most popular albums, but Caress of Steel.
Oh, great stuff.
The Necromancer, The Fountain. Those are just unbelievable. Yeah, I love the voice tracks that they put in there, the narration and things like that. That's how we got Ed to do that in our game. That's going to show up a lot in the wizard modes. A lot more than what you hear. So that's coming soon. I was definitely in love with that album. When I listened pretty much to Rush constantly all the way past Signals, and then into the 90s, I bought Counterparts and Roll the Bones, and both of those albums are just hands down. I couldn't, I was blown away at how great they were. After not listening to them a lot for maybe a few years. So those albums were, I just, I bought those on DVD or CD, and I roasted them. Those were great albums. And then later on, I had not heard, when I started on the project, I had not yet heard Clockwork Angels, and holy moly, I was totally blown away. I don't know how I missed it. There were a few different bands and things that I missed that I kind of picked up in the last 5 years. And I'm like, how did I miss this? This was in the 90s. But I don't know how this album snuck by me, but I think the problem is they don't play enough great music on the radio. We're just hearing the same stuff over and over again. You listen to like The Drive or something like that out here in Chicago, and, they play some good tracks, but, I have never heard one of these songs. Oh, and then I heard The Garden and watched it performed live. I was totally blown away. I think The Garden was probably the most beautiful song that Rush has written since Tears on 2112, which is also just an amazing song. On that album, to have that song pop up near the end like that, it's just like, wow, these guys are great. But yeah, somebody asked me one time what my favorite Rush album was, and I couldn't really say. Can't really say. Yeah, I talked to Lyman a couple of weeks before his passing, and he said that Signals was definitely his favorite album. He said
Oh,
it
wow.
was hands down, no discussion about it. Of course, he's like, hands down, no discussion about it. He goes, Signals is the best album. It's got the best written songs,
Wow.
and it's got unbelievable music. I couldn't tell you what my favorite Rush album is. That's a hard question. I can do that with any of my other favorite bands in my
Okay.
top 10 list, but I can't do it with Rush.
Mm-hmm.
Too
Well,
good.
cool. All right. So we're going to wrap back and ask you some questions, of course, John, because we want to hear, and I want our viewers that may not even know there's a Rush pinball machine to find out all about it in a little bit. So hang tight. Who are we going to go to next? I guess we're going to go to that guy that just got off the road with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra and just released a new album called Spirits of Fire from his, that's his,
Called the Great the Unknown. It's the second Spirits of Fire, but it's
the second
still really-
album. Yeah. But anyhow, let's talk some Rush, Chris, and let's get your.
I mean, since John started with his thing about how Rush, I was into Rush at really such a young age, and my brother was a drummer, and I was a guitar player, so my brother was practicing Rush every single day. I mean, when he was, I'm not kidding, he was probably 13 or 14. He was playing everything Neil Peart was doing at that time. Almost, I mean, absolutely perfect. My brother was a very, 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 very good drummer. He's just one of these people that was too smart for the music business. And it's kind of like when I left Sabotage to start working with him again, it was just his head. He couldn't handle I always tell people, if you can't handle that 1 + 1 is 3, you got to get away from the business. And my brother wound up being he has a PhD in DNA research, and to show you what I'm talking about. So it was like, but he was a huge Rush fan. I loved that band. And for me, as a little kid starting on, guitar, where you're like 8, 9, 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, it's not that they were easy songs, but Rush songs were ones, when we picked up a guitar that you could play along to, even if you weren't perfect. I don't know if that really makes sense. So it's like, I was so into their first live record, to me, was such a huge influence to me in so many ways in music. And I got to see Rush in 1980 on the Permanent Waves tour, and they just were something that I always really appreciated. Now I kind of go where a lot of people say when Signals came out, it definitely was something that was different than what I was raised on with Rush. I mean, it's great music, but when you had Witch Hunt and you had these really heavy songs, and at that time I was getting into Maiden and Priest and Acceptance. It's like it was just metal was taking over. So it's not that I stopped liking Rush, it's just that my influence as a musician for Rush was mainly with the old ones. But when you go to these records, I mean, I think the Analog Kid is got to be there on my list for that. Like I said, I'm going to go a little bit more towards the ones that are more my style, and Digital Man on Signals. That's, those two songs to me were just, were a lot of the old school mentality for me in my head with that. I mean, I could see where I know some people who would rate that record a 10 just because of where it was going for Rush. I know other people that would say it's a 6. I mean, that's where I kind of like where he met in the middle with the 8, because I think that's a good rating as a longtime Rush fan. I think that's a good rating for that record for me. I mean, it's a great record. It's just, it was one of these things where you did hear different, and different wasn't bad. I mean, Vapor Trails, I don't know if it's just a lot of the stuff that I listen to things on. That one's sound is not as great to me as some of the other records. I mean, but I think everybody's pretty even on putting one little victory there. I mean, that's really hard to listen to that record and not have that in your top one. But I'm going to round off my 2 for that record with Nocturne at the end, just because I'm going for the 2 that started with the drums. I really dig those, and those 2 songs have really got some great music inside of them. I mean, as far as that record, I mean, musically, I could probably lock that record in around an 8 there too. But the production, I don't know, this one probably sits like a 7.5 to me if I was to give a Rush record thing for me, just myself personally. Now, Clockwork Angels, that record, I just love the whole thing. I mean, to me, it's one of those ones where it hits you top to bottom. I love the production. I love the feel. there's some Geddy Lee bass playing on that record that is just mind blowing. It's just that record. I love that record. I mean, as a Rush fan, an old school Rush fan, that's one that I could really rate up there at the top of my favorite records for them. And I just could be me personally, and it's hard. I mean, the title track definitely is something really special, but I had trouble with this one. I mean, Halo Effect and the BU2B and the Seven Cities of Gold. There's just some really great stuff on that record, and it's one of those ones. I mean, it does go to its soft parts, but it's just one of these ones to me, as like you know, the Rush fan that was listening to Hemispheres and really loved some of those, you know, the tide pool kind of moments of Permanent Waves, and I just really think that record, you know, amongst the other two that John had listened to, that, you know, he said he just picked them up and listened to and was like, wow. I mean, there's some great music. It's really hard because this band, they're such great musicians and they're such great writers, and there was so much depth in everything they did. But you know, I don't know if I could give it a perfect 10, but I definitely would give that record, to me, you know, a stronger version of a nice 9.2. Nice. It's up there. I like that record a lot. It's just
cool. So you're doing Clockwork for the win out of the three with Chris.
Yeah,
so.
For me,
cool.
Definitely.
Of course, we'll loop back to you and ask you what questions you have for our stern guests tonight. So
absolutely,
you'll have a stern warning, as they say. And let's go over to Eric, guitarist for Limelight, the Rush tribute band. First time ever, I think, on the Rock Fantasy Files. Lou's been on probably a dozen times with us, but welcome.
Thank you. First time, and yeah, I'm thrilled to be here. I appreciate the invite. I also kind of feel like the caveman out of this group now, because you guys have got some very eclectic descriptions of what you like and don't like about this stuff. I am a guy that's old school Rush. That, you know, my first live show was Farewell to Kings in '78.
Oh wow!
So I've been watching these guys for a while. When Signals came out, it was kind of like when all these people started liking my band, and I couldn't buy $10 tickets to go see them, you know, and sneak down onto the floor and be one of the 3,000 people at a show. However, there were two songs. It's amazing you asked for two. There were two songs on that album that always stuck with me, and Losing It is absolutely my number one song from that album. I mean, the lyrics and the story that song tells, it's just amazing. And I can remember being at a club in Waterford, Connecticut. We used to work for the Agora Ballroom and a band called Crier, and we played this place every Monday night out there. And I remember writing on the stairwell in there with a magic marker, "For you, the blind that once could see, the bell tolls for me." You know, and so that song for me is special. And then Countdown. I mean, I'm an Apollo kid, so, you know, we went to the moon, and now we've got the space shuttle, and now Rush is cool enough to be at a launch and write a song about it. I mean, that song is just got it for me. And I'm going to kind of go in order here. For me, Vapor Trails, you know, there was a time when I think all of us thought that we weren't going to be able to hear new Rush music and see Rush. And so when they came back, I'm right on board with everybody with One Little Victory. I mean, absolutely. That is the we're coming back and we're taking names and look out.
Yeah.
And then again, another story. The Stars Look Down for me from that album. The story that tells of Neil and what he felt and what he went through.
Yeah,
is telling. And then as far as Clockwork goes, you know, I know that there's a lot of Rush fans out there, and I hear you guys saying it too, that it's the greatest and it's wonderful. I got to say that it's probably close to the bottom of my list of Rush albums. It, to me, is Geddy's vocals are the same for the last three albums, and the songwriting has been very similar, and it all just kind of blended together into this last farewell, you know, Rush or Neil's biography in a sense. And so I dig the first two that came out, Caravan and BU2B, for the loud guitars, the banging drums, and the screaming vocals like they used to be.
Yeah.
But when they get into the whole storytelling and what is and what is, it is what it is and whatever, you know, I think that would be my description of Clockwork. It is what it is and whatever. You know, give me 2112, give me Hemispheres, you know.
Mhm.
I want that Rush back, not Clockwork
Yeah.
Angels.
So Eric, what one do you like the best out of the three? If you're going to take one home and you can't, let's say your kid go into the record store and you only got money for one record, which one are you taking home?
Signals, it's the oldest.
Signals. Okay. All right. So we got a Signals vote for you. And cool. We'll wrap over to Mr. Spaghetti Lee. So he's Getty Lee, but if you want to eat spaghetti while you're listening to Rush, you hang
Spaghetti
out with
Lee. I got
spaghetti.
stuck with that nickname a long time ago, and you know, you don't get to pick your own nicknames, but I got stuck with Spaghetti Lee. I don't know. I cracked that joke one day, and it stuck. People just started calling me that.
And there was no way I could do this episode.
Small circle of friends there.
And there
Big
was no way
Spaghetti
we could do
Lee.
the episode without Spaghetti Lee on.
Ah, well, thank
Cheers.
you. All right.
He's in center on my screen.
Let me start with Signals. It's the first Rush album I remember coming out brand new. By that time, I had listened to, of course, Moving Pictures, Permanent Waves, and 2112. 2112 is not only my favorite Rush album, it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite record ever by anyone. I absolutely love it. It's an absolutely perfect album. Signals is super cool, but like many of you guys have said before, and like most of us think, it's kind of where Rush started to change. And in all honesty, they lost me in the 80s. And it's not that I disliked them, it's just that my taste went heavier. I went heavier into thrash, into hardcore, and I was just into heavier stuff. And although we kind of, you know, I saw Rush twice in the 80s on Grace and Power Windows, and they were great. But I mean, I was more, you know, Maiden and Slayer and then, you know, New York hardcore. Just like the 80s, I kind of veered away, and never really caught back up. So Signals is, if I had to pick my favorite out of three for sentimental reasons, I would go Signals. But Vapor Trails was really cool when it came out. We didn't know back in the day if we were ever going to hear Rush again. It was sort of that, you know, comeback album. And I liked it. It didn't really thrill me. It sounded good. It sounded heavy. I liked it. It had a lot more guitars, a lot more crunch to it than this, you know, the synth era. And I liked it a lot. But when Steve gave us the homework assignments to check it out, I hadn't listened to it in a very long time. And I was really pleasantly surprised to hear that they did a remix of it, because the compression on Vapor Trails, I didn't really notice it until I heard the remix from 2013. And the remix is far superior sounding. I mean, it just sounded, each instrument just sounds so much better. So I actually like the 2013 remix of Vapor Trails a lot better. Let me just I'll go on to Clockwork. Clockwork is, well, Signals would be my sentimental favorite, but if you have to twist my arm to pick one for the win today, it's going to be Clockwork.
Wow.
Because it is crunchy, because it is heavy, because it is just chunky. It's the kind, if I wish Rush would have stayed in that vein, they would have been, I probably wouldn't have lost as much interest in them if they stayed heavier. And I think Clockwork is just that album that I wish they had made more like that. I really like it. So let me give you my songs on Signals. Subdivisions, man. Look, Geddy Lee is no maestro on the synthesizer, but what he did is he played it very atmospheric, sort of added sort of ambience to it. And I like it, and I like the tunes on there. Subdivisions clearly has that. I love it. It's a classic track. I usually don't pick the radio hits, but I like Subdivisions, and I like the track called The Weapon on that record. It has the same kind of vibe to it. Also, what's noteworthy about Signals is there's more than a handful of reggae vamps on it, you know, which is sort of cool, different. When I was listening back to it this week, I was surprised at how much little reggae vamps there are in there. So my two tunes on Signals would be Subdivisions and The Weapon. Vapor Trails, obviously One Little Victory is just killer opener, and the track called Earthshine I really like.
Yes.
The lyrics on there are really sweet. What else on? Did I give you the songs on Clockwork? Caravan.
No.
All right, 2 tracks on Clockwork is Caravan and 7 Cities of Gold. Again, I would just like the crunch and the heaviness of this record. And as far as the ratings, Signals I'd give an 8. Clockwork I'd give a 7, and Vapor Trails I give a 6. Those are my ratings.
But you pick Clockwork for the win, but you get
Clockwork for the win, rather.
all right. But you give Signals a better rating.
Oh, I'm sorry. I gave it an 8. I'm sorry. Make reverse that. Signals 7, Clockwork an 8.
Okay,
Sorry,
Clockwork.
I have a lot of scratch on my pad here.
All right, Spaghetti. Was making sure we didn't give us the wrong info.
Right. Clockwork for the win.
Last but not least is the guy from the rock backlash from the Gottlieb. That is Cliff Albert, which I affectionately, every time I see him, it's like, this is the guy that's on the back of that backlash. What him and his buddies when I first met him.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Yeah, so I didn't really get to do my homework totally. I know a little bit from each album.
Okay.
But see, thing is, you invited a 31-year-old punk rocker to talk about Rush. So
that's good though.
It was always hard for me to listen to Rush, even as a drummer, just because they were so technical and progressive. So like I liked more straightforward barbaric shit. And Signals, I have listened to that front to back a few times, and it was just too synthy for me. I didn't get it. Subdivisions is a great song, but the rest of it, by that time, it sounded like a cheap Casio keyboard to me. So, and then Clockwork, I kind of went through it. I can't really give it a rating because, all these guys here, they know Rush, they listen to Rush, and no disrespect to Rush at all. I got to see them back in 2010, 2011. Clockwork was cool. It sounded a little more crunchy. Vapor Trails, I didn't really listen to that one. So by the time you hit me up about this, I was like partying and playing tournaments and shit. So I mean, Rush is a great band if you like that kind of thing. But I just it's always kind of hard for me to listen to a full one. I mean, my favorite album is Fly By Night, but if I would have to take one of those 3 home from a record store, I would take home Vapor Trails because I never really listened to it and took the time to listen to it. So since I heard everybody Spaghetti Lee's review on Vapor Trails kind of was like, all right, you know what, that sounds pretty good, so I don't know. I
think Cliff, you have to check out the song Ghost Rider because it's all about, you're a motorcycle guy too, because you drive your bike up here sometimes, but that might be something you could relate to.
All right.
Cliff, did I see you were in Malvern last weekend?
Actually on Saturday we played the Rush launch party and I got second place. It was a lot of fun. So
nice. I had a summer job there one year.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Nice.
That was my first job in the pinball industry.
That's what.
Wow, that's awesome. They're great people down there. I love them down there.
That's a pinball gallery, right, guys?
Yep.
Yeah. Our friends, that's at Bill Disney runs that place, doesn't he?
Yeah, Bill and Sherry. Yeah.
Well, the reason I invited you, Cliff, because you're just a rock and roll guy, and I know you've been very supportive of the Rush pinball, and I thought you said you were going to ordered one.
I do have one on order.
Good.
I got one. I ordered one from Flipping Out Pinball.
Okay.
It should be here around April, but it was supposed to be here the end of February, around now, but I understand production and all that shit. So
And
it's going to come when it's going to come, and I'm going to have a good time with it. So,
and what model are you purchasing?
I'm doing the Pro.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I like faster play.
Mhm.
So, and also the price for me, it was just right in my wheelhouse. So,
Mm-hmm. Cool. And of course, you do a pinball streaming thing. You've got a couple games behind you right there. You got the I call it the rare heavy metal meltdown. And what is the one to the left? Is that an Iron Maiden?
Yeah, that's Iron Maiden Pro.
That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I have 10 machines altogether right now, but I have 3 in my streaming studio / like office for my company, and then I have 5 out in the dining room instead of a kitchen table. So
perfect. You can always eat lunch on them too.
Yeah, exactly. So.
But let's tell everybody about your streaming thing, and then we'll hop over and start talking about the pinball machine.
Okay. Well, my streaming thing, I don't know. It's not the greatest. It's a clean stream. It's very clear, and I put a lot into it. There's a lot of drunken buffoonery. Sometimes I don't remember some of the stream, and then sometimes we just get to wizard modes and I just talk about shit and I become nerdy, but I never have the sound on for the pinball machines. I only ever play like punk rock and glam.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So how do we find that? How do we find it?
I do it on Twitch. I go by Warlock Pinball 777. Yeah, and you hear a lot of cursing. It's definitely not suitable for work. So we have a good time. I got a small following, but it's definitely a strong following.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
We'll get the links in the liner notes. I guess I'll get my song picks, and then we can kick this into a pinball edition. I'm gonna go with Signals, Subdivisions, of course. I love Countdown. Someone else mentioned it. I'm going with 3 songs from each. The Analog Kid would be my third, but I love the whole album. Yeah, it's kind of when they change, they kind of, it almost sounds like Rush meets the Police at times, but I still dug that record and I liked it a lot when it came out. The Ghost Rider, I was like you guys a lot. I fell out of Rush because I got into the heavier stuff. I don't think I listened to Vapor Trails when it first came out much, maybe once or twice in the record shop, but going back to it, I like it a lot. And Earthshine, of course, One Little Victory that's included in the pinball machine, and Ghost Rider, I think, are my 3 tracks. Going on to Clockwork Angels, I'm going to go with the title track. I love the song Carnies too. Of course, I'm a Carney at heart.
Yes.
So.
That's a great song, isn't it?
Yeah. And I guess Caravan is the other song I had written down. And if you're going to pick one, I'm going to take Signals home with me. I'd say Signals is a 9 out of a 10. Clockwork is probably an 8 of a 10 for me, and Vapor Trail is probably a 7.5. And let's welcome our special guests. Now that we're talking, I thought it'd be fun to have you guys on and talk a little bit about Rush. And the reason we picked these 3 albums, a lot of people tune in. Why are they picking these 3? It's because they're all celebrating the anniversaries of 2022. We've been doing this series on the channel. Of course, Rush Signals is 40. It's like every 10-year bracket, it was 30 for Vapor Trails and 20 for Clockwork Orange.
Oh,
so
I didn't even pick
Clockwork
up on
Angels,
that. I was
rather.
wondering why
Clockwork
these
Orange, I
records.
called it. Must be the
So
punk
the
rock
10,
Cliff
20,
got me.
30-year anniversary. All right.
So that's why I picked those 3. It would have been cool just to talk about 2112 and whatever else, but something different for the channel. So John, let's talk, and Tim, let's talk about the Rush pinball machine, because a lot of people on this channel may not even know there was a Rush pinball machine. And of course, let's talk about the game. It comes in 3 different art packages. There's 3 different models. So let's talk about that a little bit, John, or Tim, whoever wants to go.
I'll start. When I started laying out the Rush game, I knew that we'd probably be getting a lot of Rush fans. Would be the first time buying a pinball machine. So I wanted to make something that had some decent shots up the middle. And I, love side shots from a third flipper. So I put as many as I could there because I know all the hardcore players love hitting side shots. But with that spinner feed to that upper flipper, the side shots you're going to get one once in a while. I mean, that ball's going to go by that flipper so many times, you can't help but to make one of those side shots once in a
Yes.
while. The time machine's really cool. It's cool the way it sucks the ball up, shoots it through the back, shoots it back at you, just lets it come back at you. I wanted something that was screaming fast because that's the way Rush is. And I had to have a tribute to Neil in the game, and that's where the clock came from. Originally, the clock was the centerpiece in the game, and we started sitting and talking about it and decided to make it a time machine. It was actually Ed's idea. We were talking about the tours, and we were talking about the time machine tour, and I was like, wow, that'd be great if the centerpiece was a time machine. We could decorate it and make it look real steampunk like, and then I decided to put save the drum and put it over on the other side. But we started getting it together and shooting it, and then one day I was shooting the left orbit and holding the flipper up, and the ball was going into a pop bumper that was on the side of the game. And Tim said, boy, it'd be really cool if we could put a hole there or something. So I was like, so we had a double scoop at the time that shot balls simultaneously to the left and the right flipper. So we changed it around and we put a hole next to the pop bumper. So now we can shoot a ball at the flipper and then shoot the other ball at the top flipper.
Yeah.
Get it?
Mhm.
Yeah. So we went and did that. We called it Tim's Moat for a while.
Oh yeah, Tim's
You called
moat.
it that. Yeah.
The side shot. Yeah.
I'm going to mark
So,
I'm gonna have to mark my game at the store now and I'll put a little arrow, Tim's Moat.
Yeah. But we wanted to make a game that mortals could play and wizards could play and enjoy. And I think we're there. When you wind it up and you get it going after you get into like Far Cry multi-ball, and then you get the Rush hurry up, things just are queued up for you, and you just go to town. It's a lot of fun to play.
I think it's a wonderful presentation of the band in general, between what Tim was mentioning earlier about all the live footage. I mean, as you go through the years of Rush, for people that haven't seen the game, it literally starts out in 74 and goes right on up. And each song that you have, that you can pick these songs with 15 songs, I correct, in the game, right? What's
15?
16.
You can pick now 16 with Cygnus, but you have to unlock. That one's a secret. You have to unlock it. So
What?
it's an exclusive for the Rock Fantasy show here.
Oh, it is. And what is the 16th song?
Cygnus X1.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And some people say that's two songs because it's on two different albums. But Rush considers it one song series.
Yes.
So it's
excellent.
It's the same song. It's just on two different parts.
And what are the other 15 songs? Maybe you want to tell the viewers, Tim.
Well, I'll start with the main mode. So like the 6 we have for our main modes, we have Tom Sawyer, Working Man, The Spirit of Radio, La Via Strangiato, The Big Money, and the other one is Limelight. Those are the 6 we have as like the main mode songs.
Yeah.
And then we have, for the Time Machine multi-balls, we've got Red Barchetta, Subdivisions, and Fly By Night. And then we've got Far Cry is the multi-ball you get from the scoop device. If you beat that, you get one little victory lapse, which is one little victory. And then we have a Free Will for another multi-ball. We have Headlong Flight for yet another multi-ball. And then the wizard modes, we have Cygnus X1, the Voyage and Hemispheres. It's a 2-part wizard mode. We did it like the song. It's split up into 2 parts. And then we've got a final wizard mode 2112.
And you can pick all those songs when you start to play the game too.
Yeah, except right now you can only pick Cygnus when you beat the mode.
Okay.
And right now you can't play the mode, so it's impossible to unlock. It's coming soon in the code,
Yeah, for people that don't know, when a new pinball comes out, these guys are gradually updating the code on it, and as you do that, you get more features. Of course, the game doesn't come out completely finished, a la like PlayStation and stuff like that does with video games. So interesting. But who picked the songs out for this game? Was Rush heavily involved?
They
Yes.
picked them, yeah.
Okay. And
And
you
maybe
had,
John could talk about it. I mean, it was Getty, Alex, and then Ed Robertson who consulted with them on the song choice. But
Mhm.
they picked, they had a number of songs they could pick, which was 16, and that was the ones they went with.
and
So
of course,
did you
what's
Oh,
that?
I was just gonna ask Tim, and John, did you guys work alongside with them? Did you get to meet them and like kind of work with them, or no?
Because of
No, actually,
COVID, no.
yeah,
Oh,
Canada was
okay.
kind of shut down for a while, and that Ed
Gotcha.
was,
Okay, I
Ed's
didn't
up
even.
there.
Yeah. Okay.
So Ed went to record the speech, and then he was going to be the Solar Federation officer voice.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
Cool.
so that worked out. That worked out great, and he knows them real well too. I mean, they're all friends.
Yeah, I figured that. Yeah.
And
Cool.
and speaking about the game, for people that don't know, Getty and Alex did a lot of the call outs in the game. So their speech is actually in the game too, for you Rush fans out there. When did you know Rush was going to be part of the Rock Pinball lineup at Stern, and what went into obtaining the license? Was Rush interested in it first? Were you guys thinking it would be a great theme, or can't we answer that question?
I can kind of answer that question. I don't know exactly how long they were looking at it, but I know that Dave Peterson was very interested in having a Rush pinball by Stern. And I believe he and Jody had talked about it, and we had been friends with Ed for some number of years already. So we consulted him, and then he talked to the right people up in Canada. So
Dave's a
I'm
partner
pretty
in
sure.
the business. Yeah, he works
Yeah.
with Gary and now Seth
Mhm.
and
Okay,
some of the other leadership on. And
Yes.
so he's a huge Rush fan.
okay.
Yes. And he's a musician himself, and he loves Rush, and I'm very sure that he was the one that got the ball rolling on Rush.
Because it kind of caught some people by surprise, because of course I love every music pin because I have a record store, and I think I have to have every one of them in my shop, and I want to have every rock related pinball. So I'd rather you don't make one for a little while again so I can catch up on some funds, but please do.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised when that came across the table. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
And now I notice this heavy metal meltdown back there, which I need for my store. So
Yeah, that shit's bolted.
yeah, you don't see that one much, but I think I thought I
know.
had all the music ones, and I forgot about that one.
It's so good. It's so much fun. It's a great party game. We love to play them. You know.
Oh,
Heavy.
and when you fire it up and you hit the flipper buttons, it says heavy. If you hit the one button, yeah. Everybody used to do that in the arcade. They'd start the game up and just sit there, heavy metal,
He goes, heavy metal meltdown.
meltdown.
I had one in my store. I didn't own it, but when I first opened my store in the 80s, a guy named John Gray, who was a local vendor around here, used to buy them from all the operators and sell them to everyone before the internet even. But we had a heavy metal meltdown in my store for years. And I remember just going up and hitting that flipper and having the guy yell, heavy. And of course, the original topper, it had like a boom box that came with it.
Yeah, this one didn't have it. My buddy Joe Miller.
Sure.
Yeah, you know Joe Miller.
Yep.
So he found this like in a basement somewhere, and he rebuilt it and made it look pretty as he could. And he's like, I just don't have the topper. I'm like, okay, then I had this AC/DC.
There you
topper.
go. Good enough.
So I was just like, okay, that's fine.
Yep.
So I think I originally mentioned it before, but we'll talk a little bit more in detail that there's 3 different versions of this Rush pinball machine. And maybe John or Tim can explain to the viewers what the difference is between the 3, other than the artwork.
Yeah, so we do a pro, what we call our 3 models of games for the Cornerstone games, which is the main type of licensed product we make. It's a pro, a premium, and a limited edition. So the pro pinball machine, it's everything you need. It's a full size, fully functional, solid pinball machine designed to be placed on location and operated in a place like Rock Fantasy that it's gonna have, it has a lot of stuff in it. I mean, this has every Rush song, right? It has every mode, it has all the video, it has everything you have, but we take it up a level with the premium, and we'll add some additional features to the game.
Mm-hmm.
So in this game, we've got a moving ramp in front of the time machine. It lifts up
Yes.
and down. And we've got a motorized clock that sits above the pop bumper area. And, you know, that could be more fun because you don't have to look up at the screen to see, you know, how close you are to getting to Headlong Flight Wizard mode, or to the multi-ball. You could just see kind of where the clock is right there.
Mm-hmm.
And other things, we add an extra ramp, add an extra kicker. The scoop fires the ball out the top of it instead of just always coming to the bottom. There's an extra GI color. So a lot of playfield upgrades there that kind of take that experience to the next level. And it looks, you know, it'll look different next to the Pro. And there's still going to be about the same game, but, you know, you'll have a little bit more to experience on the premium game. But the price is higher.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we also do for the collectors is the limited edition pinball machine. That's a limited run. And this comes with a bunch of extra features. It has its own art package. It has a mirrored back glass. It has the non-reflective playfield glass. It's got a shaker motor. It's got upgraded speakers. It's got art blades installed. This one has the expression lighting system in the cabinet,
Yes.
which is music choreographed for all the songs in the game. Those are all done by hand too. That's a lot of work goes into making those light shows extra special in the limited edition. And that's our highest price game we do. And that's why we do a limited, you know, just to make it like this is a special collector item.
And how many were the limited run? Was it 500, 300?
It was 1,000 Rush
1,000?
limited edition games.
Wow, that's a lot. Yeah.
Which means John has to sign 1,000 plastics at work.
Autograph, please.
And
Yeah.
he gets his designer signature is on the bottom arch of every game.
And I believe all those sold out immediately, correct?
They did.
I think so, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And I have a Pro at the store. Cliff has got a Pro, and I love the Pro. And I think the Pro is stacked for a Pro model, where you see some games come out and you think, well, you know, and it's hard to pick because a guy like me, who's not just a guy that operates, who loves pinball, I always seem to want the premium version eventually, but I always get the Pro because they make them first, and the Pros are available for the location. So I always want to get that first. In fact, we're having a pinball launch party for the Rush this Saturday, March 5th at Rock Fantasy, starting at 1 o'clock, and all skill levels welcome. But of course, we get some of the top players in the New York City area that come up, but it's just a celebration of Rush and pinball in general. And we do this whenever there's a new pinball machine, a new Stern, of course. And those, what do you call the lights that are on the inside of the cabinet? What's the correct term again, Tim or John?
We've been calling it the expression lighting system.
Now I have that on the Led Zeppelin Premium, and I think it's such a game changer. I love it, and I know you can buy that down the road and put it in a Pro. So I can't wait to get that in the Pro right now.
Yeah, I'll definitely be getting that in the Pro for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I almost went and played it again today because I wanted to have questions about it, more questions. But I went last week and I played that game for at least an hour, and it's out of the gate, like on a, you know, when you talk about listening to records, when you listen to a record that you like the very first time you hear it, this game was one of those games that I loved the very first game, and I definitely want to add it to my collection. My biggest problem is I need to get space for it in here. It's like I have his Frankenstein and Monsters of Big. It's like I don't want to lose any. I'm like married to my games. I hate losing them, so that's why I keep getting more instead of like getting rid of one and putting a new one in. So I have guitars.
It's hard to let one go.
A bunch of guitar cases. I'm trying to figure out where to stack these guitar cases so I can I'm going to have the Rush room. I think I'm going to put it in the room.
I think you wanted to trade John your Frankenstein for a new Rush. I don't think he's.
I don't think John has his own Frankenstein machine. So
I don't at the moment.
Yeah, so I was willing to let mine be traded over there so I could get a Rush in that space. that's still worth it. I would drive out. I'll drive out there and bring it to him and bring a Rush back with me.
Wow, Chris Caffrey will hand deliver you Frankenstein.
hand
That's a pretty
deliver.
good deal.
But that Rush game is a phenomenal. It's a really fun game. I mean, some pinball machines, a lot of people. I mean, everybody has their own taste, but I play on first play. That's just one of those games. It's really special, and it's not just because I was a Rush fan. It's a really fun, like John says, a fun game. It's just it's got so many different things that I think anybody that plays pinball is gonna love that one when they play that game.
Do you have a question for John or Tim, Chris?
Well, actually, it's funny because we were talking earlier, and it's nothing to do with Rush, but what is the way? I just got the latest update on the Munsters. Steve tells me there was another multi-ball. Is that true on the last update of the Munsters game? Because I've only played it once since the last upgrade, so I don't know what to look for.
I put the upgrade in my game, and I have been so busy playing Rush and starting Rush up, I have not had a chance to even fire it up yet.
So I don't even know what it does. I'm like,
I know. Dwight's been working at it in secret, and all of a sudden, when an update came out, and then now a second one has come, and I have not had a chance to really dig into it yet.
All right, so if I find out, I'll let you know.
That's three of us, because I've played it since the update, but I haven't had time enough to play it to actually get in depth with it. But if people have been talking about the Munsters has been doing amazing in my shop. It started out slow at first, but I've got a couple. There's got to be a few players that come in the shop hooked, because it's been even Butch Patrick, who I'm friends with, of course, that played Eddie Munster in the show, was just in my shop a few days ago, and he was so excited that it made the top 10 of I rate my games in the store, and Munsters was top 10, and he was very, very happy. Butch was. But yeah, Tim, go ahead.
One thing we recently did to talk more about the new I'm in software at Stern, so we recently added the Stern Insider Connected feature to all the games. And Rush is one of the first games after Godzilla where every single Rush machine comes with Stern Insider Connected scanner, which means you can now log in on our website and you can earn achievements and experience points and see your scores, track your highest score across different locations. And it's going to enhance the way you play the game. So all the Spike 2 games, which are all our Stern LCD screen games.
Now, do those games attach to your Wi-Fi for that, or they don't? They do.
Yes.
So the upgrades will go through that. Then you don't have to go into the whole.
Yeah. So after your Munsters upgrade, if you get the Stern Insider Connected kit and connect it, you can hook it up to the internet. And your future upgrades, you don't need to get the USB stick, plug it into your computer anymore. You can just grab it, like the way your phone updates. You don't really notice it.
So with that, like
do that
when I get my Rush, like I don't know much about the Insider Connected. I think it's rad. But now, would I be able to? Do I have to get a separate kit for my Iron Maiden or my Aerosmith?
Yeah, if you want to run them at the same time, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so I would have to. But can you like switch them out as you play them or something like that?
If you want to get crazy, yes. I mean the kit, but if we've been trying to get as many kits as we can out and available for sale, and we've prioritized the locations in getting those games upgraded, because there's a ton of Stern Spike 2 games. It's very popular, but if you do want a kit to upgrade your game, you can get it. And with the Pro, it's going to replace the plastic bottom arch, and on the Premium, it's a little different the way it installs. So you got to specify which game it is with Stern, and then they'll send you a kit when they're available.
Of course, it's the second game at Rock Fantasy that has that now, the Rush. And of course, I have Godzilla Premium on location. I have Godzilla Pro, which I brought home. And I love Godzilla Pinball. I know you guys didn't work on it, but Stern hit a super home run with that. And I love the Led Zeppelin Pinball that you worked on too, Tim. I have the Led Zeppelin Premium in the shop, and I'm a sucker for rock and roll games. So
Yeah, they didn't
Me
give me a
too.
break. They put me on Led Zeppelin and then Rush back to back.
And
They
you,
said,
I mean, you've turned into a real rock and roller since you left Rock Fantasy. You worked on Iron Maiden, did Black Knight, Swords of Rage with
I was
Scott
flipping
Ian.
through online. I was flipping through online today, and it looked like somebody had the video screen from the new pinballs down in the front of the machine. Is that something that I saw, or was I imagining that? They were watching. what
people
was-
do crazy things. I see stuff on Facebook like that. I think I saw that one. I mean, that's just a guy who's
Oh, okay.
hacking something up. You know, it's not like an official
Mhm.
product, but there's people who are tech whizzes who will make some cool mods and do stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I guess this person was able to take whatever that thing was doing and put it down right in front of you over the right hand side where the
Mm.
game rules are. I was like, I barely play looking at the game itself. Now, well, I don't need two of these screens. I'm like, I'll be losing the ball every time trying to
That's
watch.
crazy.
Hey,
The dog awoken.
and we got the guys from Limelight here, and they've been
Uh-oh.
hired. They've been hired to play one of my favorite times of the year, going up to Sturbridge, Massachusetts, and going to the Pintastic Game Room convention. And I tell you what, I always see John Borg there. Tim has been there before, and this is in June. And you guys were hired. Gabe reached out to me a few weeks ago and goes, "Hey, you ever hear of these guys?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're from my area and they're great. And we all look forward to that. Last year he had a Guns N' Roses tribute band because they were celebrating a release from Guns N' Roses which they had in November due to COVID. So we're on track this year to have Pintastic in June. John, will you be at the Pintastic this summer?
I will be there this year.
You will.
I was at the last show. I'll be there in June too.
Good. And Tim, are you making the trip out or no?
Yeah, I was working hard on Rush. That's why I couldn't make it out last time. It was
So-
funny. I walked into John's office and he was telling me, he's like, "Oh man, I'm working so hard on Rush. I don't know if I can make this Pintastic show." I'm like, "Well, you know, you better make it. It's tomorrow." And he's like, "It's tomorrow."
Oh, I was
He
hanging
drove all
out.
the way out there from Chicago the next day.
I just went for the afternoon this time just because of COVID and everything. I just wanted to go out and go, and I got to see a lot of my friends, and ran into another Stern employee there. I think it was Michael Grant was there too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. And that's going to be some party. If people that have never been there, live in the Northeast, if you like pinball or you just like hanging out, it's just a
Dude,
wonderful
it's
time.
a-
It's you can play pinball for 24 hours a day if you want. If you come out of your room at 2 a.m, or you can go to a VIP lounge that has, and now they've added live music. There's a beer store and a liquor store next to the venue that's the size of a Walmart. So it's like the perfect little
And great
area.
prices.
Yeah, I was trashed for 4 days straight.
No
That's for
kidding.
sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, John, I party with you a little bit. I mean, I don't know how trash
Uh-huh.
you were, but I know that I was trash when but
I
it was
remember
a great time.
I had fun. I wasn't trash, but I remember one night I was really hungry and I was really busy all day and I didn't have time to get anything to eat. And then Joe DeRusso walked up behind me with a box about this big. It was like 2 big racks of ribs.
Wow.
And I looked at him
Oh,
and I'm like, oh God, thank you.
yeah. That,
So I just took it up to my
barbecue
room.
joint, banging.
Yeah, there's a couple of really good restaurants just right on the main strip. That's the street that the hotel's on.
Yeah.
So it's a good time.
Yeah, there's a big barbecue place right up the street. That's probably where Joe
Yes,
went.
that was where the ribs came from.
Joe's another dear
All-
friend of
all good.
ours. Pin Graphics helps us out with a lot of the pinballs and it's a lot of the additives to the add-ons, I guess.
John, the hot sauce company that I'm partners with, High River Sauces, they have their Chicago Hot Sauce Expo, and they couldn't have it last year, obviously, because of COVID the year before. But they're having it again this July, so I think I'm coming out for that one. I actually might be
All
playing
right.
some music at that with Bumblefoot. I've been talking to him about
Oh.
doing something out, so I might be heading
Oh,
out.
cool.
Maybe
I
next-
think the only thing Pintastic needs is we've got Rush on Saturday night, right? You guys are playing the Saturday night, Lou and Eric.
Yeah, 25th, right? Yeah, that's the Saturday, I believe. Yeah.
I think what we need to do is for maybe Friday night to get a karaoke, because I hear John's a big karaoke guy.
We do that. We do that there Thursday night before the Pintastic show.
Oh, there is a karaoke at Pintastic?
There's a little place a couple miles away, and they'll play anything for us.
Oh, okay, cool. But because
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
it wouldn't be too hard to set one up if I'm sure Gabe's going to be
Oh, yeah.
watching.
Uh-huh.
I could do a great Creed at karaoke, just so you know.
You do
So-
Creed?
Oh yeah, I have a great Creed
I don't know
voice.
if I want to hear Creed, but yeah, it's cool.
Oh my God, come on now.
I would picture
I got
you
a
doing,
question for the
I
Stern
wanted you to
guys.
do a Wasp cover.
I can do that too. Oh yeah.
So
So
any other
John and
question?
Tim, I had one for you guys. Will at the Pintastic event, will we get to play all 3 versions of the game?
All three.
Yeah, probably not an LE, but there'll probably be premium and pro there.
Cool.
I
Yeah.
don't think they'll, because I think all the LEs are gone.
Yeah.
I think they vanished. Yeah.
Yeah.
And usually a couple of the vendors show up there, Lou, and there's a vendor room, then there's a room where people bring their pinballs to let you play, and then there's a VIP room. And in the vendor room, automated services, pinballs.com, the person I deal with, Mike Dodonna, always has the latest Stern games set up. And I believe last time, a Coin Taker is usually there too. And so I'm sure there'll be a couple rushes there to play, but like the premium and the pro should be there for sure, I would say. Yeah.
I wonder if
Yeah.
Gabe, he mentioned, I'm not positive, but he might have mentioned that he was one of the people that ordered the LE as well. So
Oh, Gabe?
if he
Oh,
ordered
it would probably, yeah, it would be in his VIP room then.
Yeah, Gabe
Okay.
would probably have it then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Uh-huh. Okay.
One thing
And-
I forgot to mention on the LE, John did this awesome guitar. We called it the guitarmer, but
Oh,
it's the
yeah.
armor on the side of the game.
Yeah,
Um,
that's beautiful. That's
And-
so cool.
You have a brand new artist working on this game that hasn't done a game with Stern so far, correct?
Michael Bernard.
Mhm.
He's a very talented young man. He's pretty fast too. The LE, when I saw the LE art package come through, the first draft of it, I was just blown away, and then thinking about what it was going to look like on foil. It's a piece of furniture.
Mhm.
It's beautiful. The premium is beautiful, but the LE is just like stunning. It's amazing. Michael did a great job.
I'm gonna vote for the pro. I love the pro art. I think it's because it got the band on the side, and I think it was just perfect
Yeah.
for my shop. So it's
You know,
always
at
tough.
first,
Go
I
ahead.
thought the pro was going to be the premium at first.
Oh,
When I saw it, I thought, wow, it's really busy and it just pops. And then I thought that the premium would be the pro, and we talked about it, and then just decided to go the way we went with it. It's very nice to, when you see the pro cabinet, you see the side of the pro cabinet in arcade, it gets your attention.
yeah, I've got
It
it on the
definitely
end of a
jumps out at
row.
you.
So
That's-
as soon as
That's the whole problem with putting it here. I don't want to move it and put it in the middle of things. And if I put it in that room, it'll have its own space. So it'll be
Right.
like its own-
yeah, in my shop, as you first go into the blacklight rooms, it's the first game you see. It was Black Knight Swords of Rage, but we moved it over. So the first thing you see going in that room is the Rush. It's the Rush game. So anyhow, it's great to get everybody together, and I guess we should wrap it up pretty soon. But any more
my
questions?
dog's about to start talking. So I'm like trying to.
Well,
go-
well, you
Did
can
it-
mute your
did
sound
any
if
of-
he starts talking. So
yeah, I'll mute him. We're
Did
gonna
any
put-
of you guys go and see the what was it, the R30 concert when they had it on Thursday night only in theaters throughout the country?
yeah, I never saw the film.
Yeah.
I saw the concert
was-
itself.
Yeah, you saw. Okay, so they aired it on Thursday nights at tons of theaters across the states. I don't know. It was probably about maybe 4 or 5 months ago. You think, Tim? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember you went.
So-
I didn't.
So yeah, so I went and I took a friend with me, and we're sitting there and we start watching the show, and the first 3 songs went by, and I think the 4th song was Caravan or something like that.
Yeah.
So after the 3rd song, a few people clapped. I started hearing some applause, and people weren't sure if they were at a concert or a movie. And after Caravan played, about 10 people clapped. I was near the front row, and I stood up and I turned around. I put my arms up in the air. I'm like, right, come on. And the whole place went nuts. It was a blast.
Nice.
I was like, God, I was like, I was having so much fun. I'm like, I couldn't believe, I thought people were going to be standing up and, but it was like they were watching a movie. But that was a lot of fun.
Lou, did you go to that, Lou?
Yeah, that's if I'm think you're right, because they did a second edition of it. You mean the Cinema Strangiato, right? Where it was a
Yeah,
lot of
yes,
the, yeah.
uh-huh,
Yeah, Eric and I
right,
went and saw that in Connecticut, and in one of the pretty state-of-the-art theaters, and I was amazed on the sound. Yeah, at moments, the way they
it was
pumped it
great in
into the theater, it was like you were at a concert.
it was great in the
Crushing.
theater too. Yes, uh-huh. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
So I have one request or two requests for Stern Pinball if they're listening. They're not going to listen to me, maybe, but please still make music games. I don't care. You get people giving all this stuff. Oh, dad rock, this and that. But these bands are like iconic artists. But if you stop making these ones, please make a Black Sabbath first before you do something
Oh,
else.
I see the
Oh,
National
yeah.
Reality t-shirt behind you.
This is actually a cross.
Oh, look at that. Wow.
It was from the
Wow.
End Tour. Yeah, it was part of it's
Oh,
souvenir
that's
gimmicks.
cool.
So,
It's got
yeah, of course,
fringes
Black
on it.
Sabbath. And I guess I would request a Slayer game too, maybe.
It's funny, Steve, because I knew you for 3 years and I lived in the Hudson Valley,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got a job at Stern, so I'm under non-disclosure agreement, but I know, ahead of time what we're working on. And I'm like, every time I'm like, wow, it's like we're making all these games for Steve to put in his shop. And I know he's not going to be able to resist buying this next one.
Well, you mean the very next one? You're warning me?
No, I
already?
mean, in the past, I've
okay,
said,
down the
This
road.
one.
yeah.
I
And like
could-
when I first started at Stern, I worked at Iron Maiden.
yeah, which
And
was
you've got
amazing.
Eddie stuff everywhere. So I'm like, oh, of course Steve's going to buy this one. Then
I
they
get-
put me on Black Knight. We worked with Scotty and
Yeah.
Anthrax and Brendan Small of Death Clock. I'm like, well, Steve's going to buy this one. And then they put me on Led Zeppelin. And then they put me on Rush. So it's like every game,
That-
I'm like, oh,
And
this
Steve
will be
is
for
always
Rock
like, I don't know
Fantasy.
if I'm going to get this one, and then it's in the store before I even knew he bought it. He'll be like putting posts on.
You know,
He finds the pinball fairy somewhere that brings him the games. Like he's, I'm thinking about it. Then it's there the next day. I'm like, you were just thinking about this yesterday.
and
How
then you
did it
get, and
wind
then you
up
get,
at the
then you
store
get
a day
these,
later.
and then you get the art packages thrown at you, and you're like, man, I really like this art package better than the other one. And you got to, and then like Zeppelin, I had the Pro, I had them both. Because I would love to still have the Pro and the Premium because I like both the art packages on it. And it's just it's a complicated pinball troubles when you got to buy every game. I wish they would make something that wasn't cool. I'd be telling that to Tim. Please make on Golden Pond, and I won't have to buy it. But there was a rumor of a winger pinball. I heard last time. We'll start trouble there. So yeah, we should wrap this up. Anybody have another question? And I guess Rush, what do you think? I wasn't really paying attention, but did Signals win this thing or Clockwork Angels? I didn't really pay attention, but it was a fun episode.
I think Rush won.
Absolutely.
Rush the band won this.
Rush one.
Yes, right.
And
It wasn't Clockwork Orange. I can tell you, it wasn't Clockwork
I
Orange.
did say that. It was all that. That was all Cliff Albert's fault. He's got that punk rock thing up there. I'm surprised you don't have the pinball. I suppose you don't have the pinball called Punk there somewhere.
I've been trying to
wow.
find that one, and that's. I wish that there was a punk rock pin,
There's one.
but that's yeah. But I mean, like a Ramones pin or something. But it's never gonna make money. So
I would venture that the Ramones would do pretty good.
yeah, I don't know, dude. being
The
a punk
music,
rocker,
the
I
music
toured
would,
for 11 years, man, and I never made a fucking dime. So
but I think the music from Ramones would go well with a pinball. It's upbeat.
you would think, but
Yeah.
at the same time, a lot of pinball people are like kind of nerdy. So
They're not
know,
cool
they-
enough for the
they-
Ramones.
no, it's more like I think it's like like metal, like
Yeah.
is or older bands are
Mhm.
easier to get into than like
Mhm.
something so simple as the Ramones.
Cool. So I guess we can wrap this up. And thanks for everyone for joining the Rock Fantasy YouTube channel tonight.
I
And
gotta ask
please-
Cliff real quick. Is
go ahead.
that a radio station? WNRL, or is that?
This is my stream, and I just took an old radio station
All right.
look, and and I
Because
just
earlier I was
switched
trying
it
to guess
over.
where it was. So, all right.
This is just this is my shirt. So
I
The
follow
old
Cliff.
KLOS logo.
Yeah, I follow Cliff on the on social media, of course, and he has some of the coolest logos. It looks like he's like a 1980s rock station promoting these pinball streams. It's kind of neat.
I try to do something a little different, but
hey Tim, on the subject of pinball, is the New York City Pinball Championships coming back this year?
Yeah, we're trying to find a venue. Unfortunately, the venue we had, they're slated for demolition now.
Oh
So
no, it
it's-
is.
Yeah, so we've been looking at other places, maybe Brooklyn or Queens,
Mm-hmm.
something that we could do affordably, and it's just been tough because of the events business.
Of course.
There's no one working in it anymore because everyone had to find other jobs. So it's hard to get people to get back to us and get something that works. But we're looking, we're trying maybe the summer. I hope we don't have to push it off for a year, but we're no concrete plans right now, unfortunately.
Of course, Tim not only works at Stern Pinball, but he's also a competitive player and did a lot with Crazy Levy and some of the guys in New York City to bring the New York City Pinball Championships back in Manhattan a few years ago.
Yeah, we were ready to go for May 2020, and then we had to refund everyone their money. Hope we could do it next year. Couldn't do it last year, and now we're trying to do it this year. But it's a different world now, so we're just trying to figure out how we can.
Venues
bring
are
it
hard
back.
to find in the city. It's weird. The venue we have our hot sauce thing at in Brooklyn, we couldn't get for this year. It's just like if he knows. I mean, venues are not easy to get right now because a lot of them close, and some of the space is there, but they don't have the way for you to get into it at the moment. So it's coming back, but it's difficult to get venues for things right now.
So Tim, do you still play tournaments, or are you just?
Yeah, I went out to the World Championship in California, the Never Dreams tournament. Yeah, I did pretty well there. I didn't win, but
Nice.
Came in like 24th place out of 250. I'll take that.
I did that at Pintastic.
Mhm.
I was pretty proud, so I was
Nice.
pretty happy about that one.
Hey, the last time I entered a pinball tournament at Pintastic, I actually qualified, but I was having problems moving a game, and I had to give up my spot. So I did one ticket, Cliff, and I qualified somehow, and I was driving some of the pro guys crazy, like Keelers.
Wow. Yeah, I came in 20th at Pintastic. That was a nice.
That's good.
There. Yeah.
So
It's a fun tournament. Yeah. I hope I could be back there. I hope I could be back to the shop soon and then back out there,
that'll be
With
fun.
COVID, I haven't been there for a while, so.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a tough time for everyone out there, and anybody else have anything to wrap this up? How about John Borg, our closing statement from Mr. Borg?
All right, first Rush concert, 1980, 4th of July. Joe Perry warmed up for Rush and had technical difficulties playing Let the Music Do the Talking. Started getting lots of feedback from the amps.
Wow.
Smashed his guitar, walked off stage, and then I got to watch Rush for the rest of the night.
I think
Drove
that's
up there, up to Alpine Valley from Chicago in a 1974 Pinto.
That's awesome. That's a great story. Well,
That's all I got.
Well, since we're talking about that, I think my first Rush concert was Rush Hemispheres at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Oh,
Oh wow.
yeah. Our
And we-
project coordinator, Mark Wayna, saw Hemispheres. He saw Rush for Hemispheres the first time he saw him.
And Cliff, and who else? What was their first Rush concert as we wrap this up? Joey?
80s, probably Power Windows or Grace.
Okay,
Under Pressure. But
Cliff?
yeah, a couple times in the early 80s.
cool.
My first one, I think it was like 2010 or 2011. I saw them at the Allentown Fairgrounds.
Oh
And-
yeah. I had tickets for
Yeah.
that and I couldn't go, and
Yeah.
I sold up to JT Harrison.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that was like right after I came home from my first tour ever.
It was like 100 degrees out too.
Yeah, and I was like, man, I got a long way to go to play on a stage like this. And it was really weird because that was the first time I ever saw chicken nuggets be sold at a rock and roll show. I was kind of weirded out by that.
There's a memory.
Downtown Fair, you can get all kinds of good food.
I was just like, yeah,
Racks of ribs and chicken nuggets. Whoa.
yeah, I was just like, dude, I just got back from a tour playing in like living rooms and kitchens and a bunch of drugs. That was about it. And I come here and I'm like, oh wow, I can get an order of chicken nuggets.
What?
I ate a chipwich at the Glens Falls Civic Center one time.
Okay, there you go.
Nice.
And Lou and Eric, what was your first Rush shows?
Eric, you gotta go?
Yeah, sure. Mine was 78 in
That's
New
right.
Haven, Farewell to Kings, but then my second show was that Mid-Hudson, so for Hemisphere. So
You were there too.
I'm
Huh?
with you, Steve. Yep, I was there too.
Cool.
I was I saw my first was the I think I saw a night they did that string of dates at Radio City, which was technically the Moving Pictures tour,
Mm.
but at the end where they were playing subdivisions with some slightly different lyrics. So I was like night 3, I think, at Radio City. So that was my first.
What
Nice.
about you,
Wow.
Mr. Caffrey?
I saw Rush and the Fools at Nassau Coliseum on the Permanent Waves tour. I was 12 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was
Wow.
unfortunately I started seeing concerts like right at the end of the year before that. I saw Kiss and Priest, and I was never able at 11, 10 years old to get to see Rush in the early days. And that's the thing. Those moments when you were able to see bands like seeing Maiden and Priest in the theater level, like I did too at that time, or the bands like Triumph when they were playing the smaller theaters. It was just amazing to watch them. So I'm really bummed out at that beginning stage. Not that I didn't see Rush at Radio City or smaller venues, but when those guys are in their 20s and they're out there, sweating and showing you what they're, what's in their heart and soul as young musicians, there's just something different about it. But I saw the Permanent Waves one, and it was, I just remember I saw Kiss the year before. Kiss was an amazing show, but Rush hit me with this thing with the lights that that was the first time, obviously being my second big concert, but they were always on top of it and ahead of the game with their light shows. So that was an amazing, the colors and everything that they were doing with lighting back then was bright and in tune with the music and everything they had. So where Kiss was, kind of the explosions and look at us in the makeup, Rush was kind of like marrying the music and the lights, and it was two different worlds.
Before I go, Lou and Eric, do you guys got any other gigs planned before Pintastic?
Yeah, we let's see, what is it? April? Eric, what's the date? We're in Connecticut.
April 2nd.
Thank you. Yeah, Crystal Bees out in Connecticut, which is it's been around for a little while, but they were a trucking warehouse that turned into an entertainment building. It's got a bowling alley, it's got axe throwing, it's got a full stage. I mean, pretty cool place. It's a little off the beaten path. But we're April 2nd up at Crystal Bees with a Sabbath, us and a Sabbath tribute. So that should be a fun one up there.
Which Sabbath tribute is playing?
I don't want to say the wrong name because I don't know. They just
Okay.
added them, so I'm not.
Cool. I know a couple of those guys too.
Hey, can I ask Eric real quick? In '78, was that Rory Gallagher open for Rush?
Jeez, now you're testing.
I'm a Rory freak, and I know Rory
think it
did some
was.
touring with Rush.
Yeah, you guys. I mean, go to the book. That would be what I would say. Go to the book.
There was a so where I live, Northampton, Pennsylvania, a little shit town, an hour and a half above Philly. There's a place called the Roxy Theater, and there's an old newspaper clip out that my one buddy has where Rush played there back before Neil Peart was in the band.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and it was like $5 to get in to go see them. It was like on their first tour or something. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were getting radio play in Cleveland, I think, before they had a record contract.
Yeah,
or something.
they didn't.
Really?
They didn't come over on tour until Neil was in the band.
Yeah.
So that would have had to have been with Neil.
Well, didn't they play some dates with John in the States before
No.
Neil joined?
No, none in the States. The whole reason that they got rid of John is because they were starting the tour that brought them across the lake.
Oh, yeah, because people were saying that Neil didn't play with them yet at that point, but
Probably
then
was
again,
just after it.
don't quote me. So
Oh, and
Well,
just one thing,
anyhow.
since you guys brought that up, though, let me throw in one last tidbit. You guys mentioned Cleveland. Rush was discovered by Donna Halper, who
Right.
was a DJ in Cleveland.
Okay.
Donna is on call and is we keep in touch with her. She may be attending Pintastic with us.
Oh, that'd be
oh,
awesome.
nice.
Oh, there's
Uh-huh.
a tie-in. Oh,
That's
She
wow.
lives right. She lives within an hour of there, and she said, "You know what? I live close enough, and as long as we're cool with COVID, because she did have some health issues recently, but
Mm-hmm.
she's like, hey, if things are cool, she's like, I'd love to be at that. So she may come and tell some stories and play some pinball.
That's awesome. That's
Cool.
awesome.
Well, we could talk all night, but we better wrap it up.
Yeah, I
And,
gotta run, take the dog out. It's getting loud over here.
all right,
So,
Chris, take care, brother. But
good to see you guys. Be safe.
So,
All right, guys.
well,
Thanks,
listen,
guys.
I can't hear over the dog.
All right, shut your mic up.
I'm leaving. you.
Anyhow, so please, to our viewers, mention your favorite out of these 3 Rush albums and what you guys think about the Rush pinball. And we hope to see you guys back on the Rock Fantasy Files. And we'd love to have John and Tim back just to talk music sometime. And of course, they'll probably make another pinball that I'll have to buy, and we could talk about that too. So stay metal and stay heavy, stay rock, and we'll see you again soon. And wow, what a game, Tim. I promised Tim I would
Thank
say
you.
wow. Sometimes he calls me up just to hear me say wow. So wow, and wow.
Yeah, thank you for that game. It's a great game. I had so much fun. So
Yeah,
Thank you,
glad you
guys.
enjoy it. Really happy about that.
yeah, it's
Hey,
a
Cliff,
lot of fun.
my
Yeah.
first concert was Rush, for Moving Pictures. My
Yes.
second concert was Public Image Limited when they came out with that album.
Oh, no
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, that was,
That's
and my friends were really into it, and I kind of wasn't. I had such a good time at that concert. Johnny
Yeah.
was unbelievable. He's unbelievable.
oh yeah, he's wild, man.
Yeah.
He's the
Yeah,
best.
That's
he still
awesome.
sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's still good.
that is awesome.
So
Yeah.
we'll see
I thought you-
everybody. We'll see everybody at Pintastic in June. Even
Absolutely.
you guys that
Yeah.
don't play pinball should show up and watch the band. It's like a
Yes.
Rush. We'll turn it into a Rush convention and a pinball convention.
What about this Saturday at Rock Fantasy? What's going on? A pinball?
Oh yeah,
pinball
this is
tournament?
our local Hudson Valley launch party where we'll be presenting the Rush pinball, which is there to play now. You don't just want to stop by and play, but yeah, the tournament will be held, and Stern is sending out some prizes. We get a plaque. You will get a plaque if you're the winner, and all that good stuff. So all thank you to Stern Pinball for joining us and all of our guests, and we'll see you again soon.
All right.
Thanks,
See ya.
guys.